The never type in TypeScript represents values that never occur. For example, if a function never returns a value or it just throws an error, then it's never going to return anything. So you could add a return type of type never for this function. Also, if in your program you have some conditionals and you are narrowing your different types down to no possible types, you might get type never. And every once in a while, you might see this in your programs if you find yourself writing some custom type aliases or you're getting data from a database and you're writing these conditionals to narrow a type, and then you just find that your value has a type of never. Well, if you see this, TypeScript is probably telling you that maybe something is off in your logic, in which now you've narrowed your type so far that it actually can't be any type whatsoever. Now, with the never type, you can assign a never type to everything. So you can assign type never to anything in your program. However, you can't assign anything to a never type. So let me show you some examples of this. So here on line 19, I define a function called error, and it takes a message, and all it does is it throws a new error with that message. And a valid use of the never type here would be saying that this function has a return type of never, because it's never going to return a value. It always throws an error. An additional example of this would be if you had a function that just had an infinite loop and it didn't return anything. So in this function called infinite loop, it just has a while true loop and it just never returns anything. This would have a never type. Now, this particular example, the infinite loop, I don't see you ever writing anything like this in your program, but you might have a function that throws an error. And this might be an example where you use the never type, but I think it's more common to see this when you actually just have something wrong with your logic and TypeScript is like, hey, this value can't be any type. Are you sure you know what you're doing right now? And then you'll see the type annotation of never, and then you'll kind of know what's going on here. Now, you might see this example and you might be thinking to yourself, well, why wouldn't you just use void here? Because void is the absence of a return type for a function. Well, that is still a valid use here. You could use void, but one difference between never and void is that void can be assigned undefined and null, whereas never can't be assigned to any value like I said here earlier. So if we look at line 32, I say const x is type void and I assign it to undefined, and that is fine. And I could also use null here, and that would also work. But on line 34 here, I say const y is of type never, and I try to assign it to undefined. Well, I get an error. Undefined is not assignable to type never. And if I try null here, I'm going to get the same thing. I can't assign any value to type never. It literally represents a value that can never occur. So you can't assign any values to it. So that is the never type in TypeScript. You probably won't use this a bunch, but you occasionally might see it like TypeScript saying, hey, this value has type never. And that will give you an idea of, oh, I maybe have narrowed this too far to where I can't actually have a value for this, or there could be some sort of logic error or something like that. All right, so thanks for tuning into this, and I'll see you in that next one.